Because the thing that's basically happening in the Democratic Party is obviously we know they lost the election, and obviously we know that the Democratic Party is in shambles. The thing that we didn't know, or the thing that we didn't anticipate, is for them to be so in shambles that they start infighting so bad and they keep the old guard up. They start. It's amazing how bad the Democrat Party is right now. I just can't fathom. I don't understand why y'all don't see the writing on the wall. Do you know that you guys are basically going to be powerless for the next 20 years? I'm going to be in my 60s before we ever even consider a Democrat and take them serious ever again, unless you want to go on the local level. Local level, we can't really control that, but it'll be another 20 years. I'll be in my 60s before we ever consider taking a Democrat serious going forward. We knew that y'all was going to be mad. We didn't know that y'all was going to be mad all the way up into 2025 and have so much infighting. But the question then becomes, what happens to the Democratic Party? Now, some people are saying that, oh, listen, all right, listen. These old geezers, they don't really know anymore. Maybe we even need to have term limits, but more importantly, we need to start issuing in another form of leadership, a younger, more invigorated, one that has the ear to people leadership. And I told y'all that one of the people that they were going to be pushing was AOC, but they rejected that. They actually rejected that. Check it out. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications.
Woman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez lost a key show of support yesterday in her push to serve as the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee next year. The powerful Steering and Policy Committee recommended Congressman Jerry Connolly of Virginia instead. While that panel wields strong influence over the party, the results are not final until full caucus votes today.
So, Congressman, let me ask you about that. AOC, obviously, she energizes younger voters. They really do. And even across party lines are energized by her. I know the establishment, the Democratic Party, not going to be as excited. Some of her views will be left of center of where probably the mainstream Democratic caucus is. But how does she get involved in a meaningful way? She lost the race yesterday. That certainly would have done it. But what's a good pathway forward? Because, again, the challenge for Democrats, stop firing at each other, right? And instead figure out how to get the progressive wing, which I've said time and again, they were in many ways pretty patient during the Biden administration, going along with some bills they didn't agree with, and the more conservative to moderate wing. How do they get together, move forward with a common goal of winning elections?
I think Hakeem Jeffries is going to, the leader of the Democratic Party in the House, is going to have to figure out how to position someone like her, because you run into the inertia of Congress. On the Republican side, you have 6-year term limits for committee chairs. On the Democratic side, you do not. So people can get into the leadership position, and really there's no movement. And I think that was a lot of frustration for guys like me and others who are trying to climb the ladder or get into positions. It just takes so much time. But she's such a powerful voice, I think, for the party. And I think you see how she handled the Trump Bernie voter phenomenon.
Exactly.
About how to really talk to. I think she's trying to educate Democrats on how do you talk to people about these.
AOC is very young. AOC is only 35 years old. Sorry about being muted. I had muted myself because I had coughed really quickly. But AOC is only 35 years old. She was born in 1989. And the reason that I know immediately that she's only 35 years old is because my brother is 36 and he was born in 1988. The first thing that my brother learned how to say was 1988. He didn't say mama. He didn't say daddy. He didn't say papa. He didn't say food. He didn't say ooh. He didn't say none of that stuff. The first thing that he learned was his birthday, 1988. Of all of the birthdays, sometimes even my own, I know my youngest brother's birthday before anything, because he always used to say his birthday over and over and over and over and over again. 1988. I don't want to say the actual date. 1988. That's what he used to say all the time. Now, the thing about AOC is that she's only 35 years old. And that is like basically being a baby as a legislator from the Democrat side, because most of those people are aged the hell out. They are aged out. Now, I'm not a person that actually aligns with AOC on different legislative issues. I think that she's a very extreme version, a younger version of Bernie Sanders, just knows how to communicate it a little bit better. As far as, rich people paying their fair share, and what the hell is that? I don't agree with her when it comes to advocating for the alphabet community, because that is a lifestyle choice that has nothing to do with your civil liberties and your ability to be able to earn or do the things that you do on a daily basis. And I'm certainly 100% on the opposite side of what AOC stands for when it comes to immigration. She thinks that everybody just can walk into the United States of America, that we should have open borders and just embrace them with open arms, and that there shouldn't be any structure for vetting who comes over here inside of the United States of America. However, objectively speaking, just because we are on different legislative sides of the aisle as far as what we stand for and what America is supposed to be about, does not mean that she does not resonate with a younger version of the party. AOC is resonating with younger people. She even had a conversation with people after the election in order to find out exactly why people voted for both her and Trump within her district. She crazy as piss. However, she is a voice. Not saying that she should be president, not saying that she would have success as running for president of the United States of America, because I think that she would get trounced, especially by a J.D. Vance or a Byron Donalds or a Vivek Ramaswamy or any of those people, even a Tulsi Gabbard. However, she is a voice that resonates within the Democratic Party, and the fact that they don't embrace her. They do not embrace AOC at all, I believe, is a mistake. Now, the only way for you to really be able to get her to be able to compete at a higher level as far as having a bigger voice within the Democratic Party is to get her to not be so liberal and be a little bit more central, right? A little bit more moderate on her stances, because there's some fundamental things that we should not disagree on. You should not be disagreeing on vetting the people that come inside of the United States of America and legal migration. That should not be something that we have bipartisan disagreement on. You see what I'm saying? However, AOC is a voice that resonates, and the fact that they continue to reject her, it's a big deal.
Working class economic issues in order to bring them into the fold, whether you're in agreement on the solution of redistribution or grow the pie, democratic socialism, or a reformed capitalism. That's the argument you should have. But she's clearly very talented in understanding how to connect the working class people. So she needs a place in the party to talk about those kind of things.
Let me pivot for a second and catch it from a completely different angle from on MSNBC also.
The caucus and the party made its decision. They made it their choice, and I respect the outcome of the results, and we're moving forward.
Today, Democratic Congressman
She was brokenhearted, realistically.
Jerry Connolly of Virginia was elected by his caucus to be the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. That's the highest ranking member of the minority party, the Democrats. Connolly, who is 74 and was just diagnosed with esophageal cancer, beat back a challenge from 35-year-old progressive Alexandria.
I don't understand that. And again, I am in no way, shape, or form a AOC fan. I am in no way, shape, or form an AOC fan. How do you beat back? First of all, I wouldn't even really be fighting for that position in that seat with esophageal cancer. Esophageal cancer? I'm chilling. I am chilling. Listen, I got that good government-sponsored health care. We know our legislators have probably the best health care in the country. They might as well have concierge service while they at it. He got esophageal cancer, fam. And he approaching 80. It's time to sit down. It's time to retire.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez amid calls for a new generation of leadership in the Democratic Party. As Democrat Don Bayer of Virginia, a Connolly ally, put it, quote, Jerry's a young 74, cancer notwithstanding. Now, to be clear, I'm sure Jerry Connolly will do a fine job as the ranking Democrat on oversight. I understand his colleagues respect him. I understand the way seniority works in Congress, which has been there forever. Often there's a reason for it. You learn a lot over the years. But in light of everything that has happened over the past decade, it does feel like Democrats still have not learned a pretty important lesson here. Back in 2013, when some liberals called for the retirement of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, then President Barack Obama invited Ginsburg, at the time an 80-year-old cancer survivor, to a now infamous lunch meeting. The president gently implied that it was time for her to pass the torch before the 2014 midterms, when Democrats were expected to lose the Senate, making it impossible to replace her with another ideological liberal on the court. Ginsburg refused to step aside.
You're 83. You're the oldest serving member on the Supreme Court. How long do you think you can do this?
At my age, you have to take it year by year. I know I'm okay this year. What will be next year? I'm hopeful, however, because my most senior colleague, the one who most recently retired, Justice John Paul Stevens, stepped down at age 90, so I have a way to go.
Let's put politics aside for a minute, y'all. As far as, where we differ on a Democrat side versus a Republican side. Putting politics aside for a minute, how old is too old? As far as serving in politics, not which side of the aisle that you're on. And I don't think that an age is meaningful, right? I think that age is meaningful in the grand scheme of things. But, it's when you're talking about a Supreme Court justice, for example, or something like that, or the leader of a house or something like that, if Biden was a springful, young, fit, running around, seemed not to have dementia, I think that he would have had a much better chance. It's nobody that was going to beat Trump in this election, but he had a much, much better chance of being able to make sure that he held on to power. I think that the Democrats did such a bad job over the last 4 years that it didn't really make a difference. But when you start to have a cognitive decline, that's a problem.
Republicans retook the Senate in 2014, and they held it until 2021. Ruth Bader Ginsburg died in September 2020 at the age of 87, 3 years after that interview and 7 years after her meeting with Obama. Donald Trump and the Republican Senate, and just a few months before the election, replaced her with conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett, further cementing conservative control of the court for generations to come and facilitating the end of Roe v. Wade. You would think that would have been enough for Democrats to start taking the age issue seriously, but it was not. In April of last year, President Joe Biden announced he was running for re-election, even though he was the oldest man to ever serve as president and was also clearly having a hard time communicating at the level necessary to occupy the bully pulpit. It wasn't until over a year later, when Biden gave a cataclysmic performance in his first debate with Donald Trump, that the Democrats...
I think it depends on the health of someone also. Alboa, I agree. I don't necessarily think that it's the age itself. I don't think that you hit a term limit and say, okay, well, you hit this age. But when you're showing a cognitive decline, your ability to be able to make decisions quickly, when you don't know where you're at when you wake up, when you step off the plane and you start to look around and you don't recognize where you are, when you start to seem like you have dementia, that is a problem, in my opinion. And a lot of these people seem like when you start having reoccurring healthcare problems that's associated with old age, I believe that it's time to start thinking about stepping down, to start thinking about enjoying your years and start focusing on the things that's meaningful to you outside of work. And don't get me wrong, I think that you should always work. I think that you should always be productive. That's the thing that keeps you alive. That's the thing that keeps you with life. That's the thing that keeps you, quote unquote, young. But when we talking about a cognitive decline, you can't answer questions clearly. You don't know where you at. You wake up confused. Everybody start questioning whether or not you are really alive or not. When you start falling asleep mid-meeting with Angola, that then, in my opinion, shows that, hey, you need to let it go. Time to hang it up, big dog. Time to hang it up. I see guys, they be trying to hang it on in certain industries, even outside of politics. Maybe like, yeah, you know what? Time to hang it up. Who was it? Melly Mel tried to get into a battle with Eminem and he started doing that rap. It was like, yeah, ah, yeah, that's not gonna go over well, big dog. Like, I'm all for older people dropping albums, but you should probably, you know what I'm saying? Somebody should have told you, hey fam, that's not gonna be a good one. That's not a good drop for you. You should let this one go. For real. Seriously.
changed course. After a wrenching, excruciating process just months out from the election, Biden, again, to his credit, finally stepped aside under enormous pressure. But he clearly didn't do so under the conditions, we can say in retrospect, that would have been best for Democrats to run a winning campaign. You would think that would have been enough for Democrats to start taking the age issue seriously. But it was not. Jerry Connolly won that vote today. And he did so thanks in part to former Speaker Nancy Pelosi whipping votes for him. Now,
are we is Nancy Pelosi the final boss? LL is killing it. Melly Mel not so much. Y'all didn't hear that Melly Mel diss track when he responded to Eminem? Y'all didn't hear this one? Sometimes it's just like, you know what? Gotta let it go. No, genuinely, you gotta let it go. I think that Nancy Pelosi could quite possibly be the final boss, bro. Nancy Pelosi is the final in their final form. Let me read some of the super chats. Honestly, it's like, nah, you know what? Even the old people from your generation, like, you know what I'm saying? You usually have an audience, a target audience that still rock with you. Even when the people that's from your generation was like, nah, you know what? We're going to go ahead and wrap that one up, big dog. It's time to let it go.